Today's episode of Talk About Games is sponsored by Crunchyroll. We're playing a game called Attack on Titan, which I believe is an anime, is it not?
Yes, it is. And you can watch Attack on Titan plus hundreds of other animes on Crunchyroll. Get your 1 month free trial of Crunchyroll Premium by going to crunchyroll.com/cinemassacre. Enjoy professionally subtitled episodes in ad-free 1080p as soon as 1 hour after they air in Japan.
All right, so we're talking about Attack on Titan, Wings of Freedom. I played it today, but it's based on an anime, which you've watched. So
yeah, I have actually. You know, it's actually has a pretty cool concept. Basically, in Attack on Titan, there's a society that lives entirely in these 3 sections of a wall. It's this gigantic circular wall that goes around their whole society, and they're constantly plagued by these things called Titans, which are these gigantic, dickless monsters, and they were a huge problem. So they built this walled society.
There's like the tiny monsters, and then there's like huge ones, and the big ones are the ones that break down the wall. They're breaking through the wall and killing the people, so they have to do something to fight back.
The one thing I really like about this anime is it is a war drama, basically. It's basically kids being thrown into, or young adults being thrown into this situation where, you know, they live safe behind the wall their entire lives, but now the Titans have finally grown big enough to break through. And they're all coping with the different problems that go into war. Like, the rich kids are getting these like plush assignments that are way back in the in a safe area, being military police, but then the other people are getting like the cannon fodder assignment. And then there's
put on the front lines.
They're put on the front lines to die, basically. Yeah. Because if you have like a gun or something, how are you going to fight this gigantic Titan?
Right.
But the cool thing is, and the most of the characters that you see, and all of the characters in this game, are like the forward scouts. And they have this really cool weapon system. It's basically like Spider-Man. It's like this hydraulic, like, cable launching
It's
thing.
a little bit like Link from Legend of Zelda, how he uses the hook shot, or like a lot of superheroes, kind of like Batman in the Arkham City games, using like his grappling hook. And that's one of the things that I really, really like about this game, is that it's basically an open world city, kind of like Arkham City, where, you know, Batman's swinging around. In this, you're doing the same thing. You're swinging from building to building, but this is where it's like Spider-Man. You have 2 grappling hooks that jut out, which kind of like Spider-Man shooting his webs, and I really like the way you swing around the city. Then basically it's kind of like a targeting system. The control system is a little bit hard to get used to at first. It takes a little bit of time, and it is a little bit complicated, but it's something to where if you play the game for 15-20 minutes, you start to pick it up fairly quickly. It's not that hard that the learning curve is too difficult. Just give it a little bit of time and you'll be able to pick it up. And I actually think it's a really, really fun combat system. I really enjoyed playing this game. I like swinging over the monsters. I like when you can, grapple like their head or something, their big bobbleheads, and then you zoom into them. There's like a sort of meter.
It's like a distance meter.
Where the closer you get, as it gets closer to 0, that's when you want to strike and hit Y to decapitate them. And also the game has a lot of blood, which is kind of cool.
Yeah, I mean, it's really interesting. I mean, normally when you think of like the anime titles, they're like very fantastical, but because this is a war situation, they took a little more serious tone with it, and your character is literally covered in blood by the end of a kill, because you're slicing their throats and you're slicing their arms off, and it's just real physical and visceral. And one of the things that I like a lot is once you get good at the maneuvering system, you can chain together kills where you slice the one guy's throat and then you slice the other one and the other one, and there's so many Titans to fight that you're gonna have plenty of time to get like lots of style points. And that really goes to the improvement system in the game, where you can upgrade the character. When you slice those points, there might be a little gold marker on an arm or on a leg or something.
You get like pieces of metal and things that you can collect, because you want your character to get as powerful as he can. Now, we were mentioning the blood before. There is the option to turn the blood on and off, which I guess is a good thing. You know, if you're a little kid and you want to play this game, or if you want to let your kids play this, there is the option to turn the gore off, which I guess is a good thing. We like to play it with the gore on, though,
Absolutely.
because it's. I mean, you're slicing, giants' heads off. There's gonna be some blood involved.
On easy, it doesn't really feel like you need to have all the extra characters and all the. Like, you could give them orders.
Between levels, there are extra characters. You start playing, like, level 1 is one character, then when you do level 2 or 3, it changes to a different one. And you, in the levels, another thing that you can do with the other characters is you can, like, stop on the rooftops and you can add members to your team so they follow you along and fight along with you, which is kind of cool. But I kind of also seem to feel like they didn't do a whole hell of a lot. Maybe they were off, like, fighting, like, in the corners or something, but I didn't really see them really coming in and helping me. I felt like I was doing everything. Every time I took a giant down or a titan down, I was the one slashing the neck. There's, like, a map system in the upper right, and let's say I'm swinging sort of like to the left and I want to fight one of the titans over to the right. I had a little bit of a hard time navigating to find where the next titan was. I thought that there could be more of like maybe like an arrow on the screen or something to indicate where to go next a little bit better, because I found myself like, oh, where do I go next?
Yeah, I felt that way. I mean, sometimes you get a little lost in
a little
the camera.
disoriented because you're jumping around. And
in this show, they're often like hanging like with their feet against walls.
Yeah.
You kind of just like brush against the walls instead of like planting your feet. It'd be cool if you could plant your feet on a wall and then launch.
Yeah,
like
get on the wall and then bounce off.
Yeah, like if it was more fluid than just it like sucking you along it. You could skip all of the cutscenes, but if you're a fan of the anime, which I am because, I watched it and I thought it was great, you relive the anime itself. And then after you complete that, there's actually a whole other campaign that's kind of a separate side story that's not in the anime, which is cool.
One of the critiques I heard about the game was that it doesn't follow the anime quite as closely as if you were to watch the real anime, but kind of like, of course it doesn't. Of course the real anime is going to be more involved in the video game. The video game is just putting you in that world and giving you the opportunities to see kind of what that world's like.
It shouldn't follow the anime exactly. Imagine if Ghostbusters followed this source material exactly. There'd be like a Chinese food eating level. There'd be like a holding up like ink blot level. Well, I think where all you want to do is bust ghosts.
I actually think that that's a really bad example, though, because the one thing that you kind of want in the Ghostbusters game, if you're talking about the NES game, you want it to. That was the big complaint, that it didn't follow the movie.
Right? No, it didn't. But I mean, imagine if you sit down in the NES game and you have to like. There's like ink blots appear on the screen and you have to like shock the guy. Right. Like, that would be so dumb. Versus like what you want to be doing is running around levels shooting ghosts.
Sure.
It's the same thing. Like
the way they did the Xbox 360 version of the Ghostbusters game, which that was done correctly, and that's what you're doing. Yeah. Running around shooting ghosts. Yeah.
It's a better balance.
And I have to say that I found this game to be a lot of fun. I really, really enjoyed the gameplay. I would sit and play this game. I would like to level up the characters and play through the game. The big complaint that I do have about the game is that it is, as you were saying before, it's kind of a one-trick pony. Mm-hmm. The game is a bit redundant. It's a hack and slash. You're going around hacking and slashing these monsters, but it seems like that's the majority of what you're doing.
There's very little deviation from the hack and slash gameplay, and it makes sense because the hack and slash gameplay with the targeting and the rocket and everything,
and it's great.
Is great. Yeah. And they definitely, as a lower budget title, you can definitely tell that's where they spent the money. Mm-hmm. But they had some awesome ideas, like when you're on the parapet and you have to shoot at the big titan. I wanted that in every level. Mm-hmm. I wanted to have some deviation from slice necks, collect checks, There had to be better than that.
Yeah, I mean, there is a lot of, like, a guy will throw, like, a smoke thing down, so you go to where the smoke is, then you fight a couple of the monsters, then a big one comes out, and then you seem to do the same thing again and again, where if they would have threw in a couple different gameplay mechanics here and there, it would have broke the game up a bit more, and I think that that's what this game really needed. I want to say something really positive about the game is that I love the graphic style when you're playing the game. The cutscenes, not like when the monsters when the Titan is like putting his foot through the wall and stuff. I didn't think that looked so great, but when you're actually playing the game and you're swinging around, I thought it looked awesome.
This is probably one of the most beautiful animes out there. It has excellent art, but the cutscenes in this game, they may as well have just taken the clips from the anime because definitely leaves something to be desired. The way that the anime combines the CG and the traditional animation and things are just great package, and then we have these cutscenes that are like not as good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But the in-game gameplay portion is awesome. So would I recommend this game? I would, as it is really fun. If you want just a fun like hack and slash, absolutely. If you liked like Spider-Man on PlayStation 2 and like swinging around the city and all that, you probably would like this game. The only thing is, I think the game has its limits. You're not going to want to play this game, I don't think, for too long, but it's good for a little while.
I mean, I definitely think if you have a day or two, you play a couple hours, you get in, you upgrade your character, you go through the story mode, something like that. That's what this game has. It's not going to be this big epic that you play.
I think this is a game that you play once and beat the game, and then I don't know that you would come back to it, but I would definitely at least play it once.
I would definitely like to see more from this developer.
Speaking of the developer, Omega Force, they were the same developers that did Hyrule Warriors and Dynasty Warriors.
Oh yeah, and I think,
and that shows off with the gameplay.
Yeah, and I hate to say it, but like the Dynasty Warriors formula, which started in like the PlayStation 2 era, you know, kind of went to its natural conclusion in Hyrule Warriors, and you know, maybe even far before then. I'm glad that this game is not yet another Warriors title.
It's its own thing.
I'm glad that they did things a little differently, because there's enough Warriors games.
Yeah, there's a lot.
There's a ton.
It was really, really good. Could it be improved a bit? Yes, but that's not stopping me from saying that I recommend the game. I think it's worth playing.
Absolutely. It's pretty good.
So tune in next Friday again, 3 p.m. for another episode of Talk About Games. We promise next time we won't be talking about dickless bobbleheads.
Yeah, definitely not.
See you then.
See you then.